now?
No.
Hello and welcome to Michigan WCBN sports coverage of Michigan water polo. I'm Daniel Thompson, joined alongside by Nate Sorensen, and we have some good and bad news to report to you. Due to some technical difficulties, we have started our broadcast just 2 minutes into this game. However, the Wolverines are up to a 1-0 lead to start this game, with Julia Sellers recording the first goal just moments ago. 6 minutes to play. Michigan won the opening sprint. Michigan's Kathy Rogers winning that one, the freshman out of England. So the Wolverines have gotten the start they're looking for against the 16th ranked in-conference foe Hartwick Hawks. Wolverines need this one if they want to have a realistic shot at unseating Princeton to win the conference championship. It is senior night here, and right as we resume play here, Caroline Anderson, a senior, has possession at around mid-pool, finds teammate Kathy Rogers, who plays it in toward the center toward teammate Kim Johnson, who loses the ball in triple coverage. It's going to be Hartwick ball, rather, as the keeper plays it forward toward her offense. Hartwick plays it in toward the 8-meter line. A little bit of lax defense by Caroline Anderson allows the Hartwick player to scuttle in. Zsofia Polak out of Dunaújváros, Hungary. That's a nation with a great water polo tradition. She is able to scoot in toward the goal, however, cannot quite get it. Anderson made sure to have a hand in it in Polak's face and prevent a quality shot. On the other end, Michigan's Kathy Rogers is stripped of the ball by L.J. Edwards of Hartwick. She was winding up for a shot, and Hartwick rather just grabbed her forearm and ripped the ball out, not unlike a defensive end strip sacking the quarterback. Impressive defensive effort there by Hartwick as they take possession now, still trailing 1-0. Hartwick slowing it down a bit now. Ball carrier scoots in, doesn't find any open looks, and just decides to rifle a shot, easily batted away by Michigan's Cameron Cordial, who had a nice save early before our broadcast could begin. She finds Kathy Rogers, a fast swimmer, who gets into the 2-meter zone, hands in her face, fires one that is tipped away by the keeper. A good quick shot, however, not enough to beat the keeper, who had good reflexes and got a hand up to stop the ball. Defensive lapse by Michigan. They allowed a swimmer to get behind all of them. Keeper plays it forward toward Hartwick's Tori Wilson. Finds a teammate. That's L.J. Edwards, who puts one in to the back of the cage. Really hard position there for Cameron Cordial. Sorry, my bad. That's Heidi Rittner in goal. All keepers were number one, which is a bit of a difficulty, but
Don't make it easy on us.
Yeah, no, not making it easier on us broadcasters, but Heidi Rittner concedes the goal, although really that's more on the defense. They did not get back in time. A 2v1 situation. Rittner had to position herself to guard against the oncoming Tori Wilson of Hartwick, who wisely passes it to her teammate, L.J. Edwards, who puts one into the back of the net for a goal. Going to be a tie game here with 3.5 to play in the first quarter.
Yeah, that was just a very unselfish play, and Rittner just had no chance to stop it.
Yeah, that's really more on her team in front of her. Anderson plays it into Kim Johnson. Referees don't like something in there. It's going to be an offensive foul, and the ball will now switch over to Hartwick, and they look to take their first lead of the night.
Yeah, and I should say so far Michigan's defense overall has not been looking that great. Rittner's had 2 really incredible saves so far. Hartwick's really been having their way on the offensive end, it looks like here.
Meanwhile, now Michigan looking to improve. They quite a bit, 2 times now, they've really just kind of been a little bit lazy in getting back, unlike they were in the St. Francis game earlier today. There, though, that's tenacious defense by Caroline Anderson, and while she had the Hartwick ball handler hesitating, an offensive foul was committed away from the ball, resulting in a turnover. Michigan ball now as Kim Johnson takes a long pass, comes into the 2-meter zone, has a wide-angle shot if she wants it. Bodied up well by a defender, though. Officials blow the play dead as things get sorted out here. Kim Johnson still has it with the defender between her and the goal. Maddie Steer is making a cut toward the center. Johnson sees her but cannot get the pass off. Instead plays it back toward Julia Sellers, who finds teammate Christina Obeck. I cannot believe what Christina Obeck just did. You might be hearing the crowd erupt here. The senior on senior night putting on a show. She hadn't looked at the goal for, I don't know, maybe a full minute. Her back facing the goal. She was well submerged in the water, just gets her hand out and takes a flick. beats the keeper. I'm sure she didn't know where the keeper was, but I guess she knew that she liked her odds of that going through, and it worked. What a goal there by the senior.
Just incredible. I don't know how on earth she got that on target. Just blind from underwater, flicks it back there. I cannot even believe my eyes right now.
I said it about 3 times in the opening broadcast that water polo center is probably the most impressive position to play in sports. And that right there just added to the resume of all the amazing things water polo centers do. That was truly a great shot right there. I mean, but that could have been the best goal of her career, and doing it appropriately on senior night.
Yeah, love seeing the seniors show out here on senior night. Really emotional here in a big game, really, to send these seniors off on the right note here. This would be a huge win for the Michigan Wolverines.
For sure. The Wolverines have done well against ranked opponents lately, have done really well against any opponent since February 23rd. They've only lost 1 game, and that was a sudden death double overtime loss against Princeton in Boston 2 weekends ago. But outside of that one dropped game, the Wolverines have been an incredibly impressive squad right now. They've beaten a lot of teams ranked lower than themselves. They're currently ranked 10th. They're going to want to improve their resume should they not win the CWPA conference and need an at-large bid. As a Hartwick possession comes up, there's no fruit, nothing going on there. Shot clock violation, and Michigan takes over. Laura Jimenez, another senior, with the ball right now, finds Delaney Cleveland, who gets it in toward Brittany Prentice, a freshman who's really earned her minutes as the season's gone on. Was not involved much at the Wolverine Invite earlier in February that we covered. Has really asserted herself into this lineup throughout the season. Scored 4 goals in the game earlier today. Hartwick tries to get beyond the Michigan defense. Can't succeed in doing so. They're forced toward the edge. Have to play a pass toward the center to triple coverage, and that ends as it will 90% of the time. Turnover. Michigan now gains possession. Laura Jimenez with the ball again, as the Wolverines, with 54 seconds to go in the quarter, want to expand to a 3-1 lead. Brittany Prentice with the ball in the corner right now. Has to find an open teammate. No chance of scoring from there. Gets it back toward Cleveland, back toward mid-pool. Kim Johnson with the ball now, still surveying. Maddie Steer, the sophomore from Australia, possibly the best player on this team. Can't find much, and Kim Johnson will have to launch one deep. Instead, she smartly tosses the ball into the corner in an effort to burn the little remaining time in this first quarter. 28 seconds to go. Once Hartwick recovers and the shot clock and the game clock begins ticking again, and it's going to be harder for them to play it in now because of the way Kim Johnson wisely played the ball into the corner. They're still not even on to Michigan's half of the pool yet. Finally, just crossing over. They've got 9 seconds to shoot. They're starting to work their way into the 2-meter zone. Forced to take a low percentage shot, and they lob that one over the crossbar. It's going to be Wolverine ball with 5 seconds to go, and I don't anticipate a shot here from the Wolverines. Heidi Rittner plays it deep. A little bit too long for Laura Jimenez, and that's going to end the quarter.
Yeah, fantastic defensive effort all around on that last possession for the Wolverines. Laura Jimenez not allowing Hartwick to cross center pool there, and then Julia Sellers not allowing for the Hartwick attacker there. Was in close there near the goal. Julia Sellers was all up in her face, not allowing her to get off a clean shot. Just great work there with the time running off the clock.
Yeah, well-executed final defensive possession there. Wolverines up 2-1. I think they might be, with the offensive looks they've had, they might be a bit disappointed it's not greater. And they might just be used to that St. Francis game earlier this morning where they won 7-2. However, can't be too upset with a 2-1 lead going into the quarter, especially against a ranked opponent. Wolverines could really use this one. They are presently 28-8 on the year, 6-1 in CWPA play. They've only lost 1 game, however, and that was in double overtime. Unfortunately for them, though, they dropped that one to the only remaining undefeated team in the CWPA conference. Princeton defeated their first opponent of the day, so they've improved to 5-0 on the year. With a victory today, the Wolverines could do no worse than the 3rd overall seed in the CWPA conference tournament next week, 2 weekends from now in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. However, should they lose, then Hartwick would likely leapfrog them, as both teams would be 6-2 on the year, Hartwick owning the head-to-head tiebreaker. So this is a very large game for the Wolverines if they want to afford as easy of a path as possible to the NCAA tournament. Right now, should the Wolverines, as it stands right now, the Wolverines could probably make the tournament even without being the CWPA champions. The caveat to that is, though, if they were to not be the CWPA champions, that would mean they'd have to lose to a lower-ranked team at some point left in the season, which would probably knock them out of the tournament for right now. So if we're going to get into our college water polo bracketology here, this is a crucial game for the Wolverines. Losing it could drop them to third in the CWPA conference. That would mean an extra game against likely Hartwick, as opposed to maybe Indiana, who's maybe not as strong of an opponent. Either way, I mean, the reasoning follows that you want to have the easiest possible path to winning the CWPA conference. They likely love to play Princeton in the championship game either way, but it would certainly help them a bit if Princeton were to drop another 2 games here between today and tomorrow. For the time being, though, the Wolverines can only control what's ahead for them, and for them in the regular season at least, they have 3 more quarters to go in this 2018 season. So no time to look ahead right now because they are underway for the opening sprint. It's going to be Julia Sellers for Michigan, and it's Hartwick who wins that one. Hartwick sprinter Lena Katenchan from Moscow, Russia, wins that opening swim. However, it's not going to result in any production for them because Madison Gramushka is stuffed by Kim Johnson on the with the ball, so it's going to be a turnover. Wolverines possess it now. Caroline Anderson at mid-pool finds Julia Sellers. Sellers plays it into O'Beck, who had that amazing no-look goal earlier, and she adds her second goal of the game, the senior. Whereas number 2 got her second goal of the game. Maybe not as inspiring of a goal as her first one, but a good execution nonetheless. Got the ball. She has not hesitated whatsoever once she gets it. Immediately firing, scores 3-1 lead for the Wolverines.
Yeah, just a perfectly executed offensive possession there for the Wolverines. You know, O'Beck just had an absolutely easy clear shot at the goal there and did not disappoint. That was excellently done.
Certainly was. That's going to give Michigan the first 2-goal lead of the day as Hartwick tries to recover. They played in towards the center. Were able to, for a second, it looked like Hartwick had gotten by the 2 Michigan defenders. Christina O'Beck wisely fouled, causing a dead ball. However, Hartwick will now have a 6-on-5 advantage as O'Beck is whistled for the exclusionary foul. Hartwick content to pass around the outside right now. Michigan doing a good job of keeping a sea of hands in Hartwick's face. However, they're going to get one by the keeper as Lauren Brennan out of Canberra, Australia. Both number 3s for these teams are Aussies. Laura Brennan fires one from the the point of the offense, gets one, ricochets off the post, and just barely bounces in the same direction it was shot to result in the Michigan goal, or Hartwick goal, rather. Really hard situation there for Heidi Rittner. Not really anything she could have realistically done to stop that one. On the offensive side, Michigan plays a pass a bit too long out of Julia Sellers' reach and into the hands of the keeper. Hartwick now has a chance to tie this game back up with 6.5 to go in the second quarter. Hartwick played it in toward the 2-meter zone. 2 Michigan defenders were there. After some fighting for the ball, a defensive foul was committed, and Hartwick will keep the ball. Great defense by Maddie Steer. She was beat by countrywoman Lauren Brennan. However, Steer was able to get her hand between the ball and Brennan, deflect it, resulting in a turnover. Michigan ball now as Caroline Anderson is swimming into the 8-meter zone, has the ball, holding the ball out of the pool in her hand, finds Maddie Steer, who could have fired right away and probably would have scored, but didn't quite catch the ball. Has to end up taking a less quick shot. Gave Emma Aleksandrovic out of Belgrade, Serbia, some time to regroup, center herself up, and shoot. The ball goes off the keeper out of bounds, so Michigan will keep the ball. However, an errant pass is intercepted by the keeper, so it will be Hartwick ball.
Yeah, that's a shame because you don't see Maddie Steer that open that often.
For sure. Now, she certainly commands a bunch of gravity on offense. Got wide open, just couldn't quite handle the ball. However, an offensive foul very early into the Hartwick possession is going to result in Michigan keeping the ball as Delaney Cleveland finds Julia Sellers, 2 defenders to beat, and the keeper. Nearly got it by here. The ball got over everyone's head and was just kind of floating toward the goal. Didn't have enough speed on it, though. Could not break the goal line and result in a Michigan goal. Will be Hartwick ball, 3-2 lead still for the Wolverines.
Yeah, that's a bummer right there as well. If that ball just had a little bit more on it, that's a goal there. That was perfectly placed.
Nonetheless, Michigan has made up for their past couple offensive miscues by some really stout defense. No shots allowed since the Hartwick goal. Delaney Cleveland now has the ball at mid-pool. Has to dump it back to teammate Caroline Anderson. 20 to go in the shot clock, and the Wolverines have yet to cross the mid-pool mark. Steer now has to play it forward to a Christina Obeck at center. Rather, Kim Johnson playing center right now. Ball is given to Kathy Rogers, who fires into the hand of a Hartwick defender. Recovery corralled by Hartwick's LJ Edwards. Edward plays it toward the center, and the ball is stripped by Delaney Cleveland. Poked the ball out of Tori Wilson's hands. As now Heidi Rittner surveys, holding on to the ball, 4:22 to play. Gets it forward to teammate Delaney Cleveland, who has Kathy Rogers with water in front of her. 2 defenders to beat. She's going to look for a pass now. Having to swim backward. Delaney Cleveland has open space now. She can go forward. Being yelled by her teammates to shoot. Skips one in for a goal. Wolverines lead 4-2 on senior night.
My goodness, Cleveland looked like she didn't want to shoot that ball. She was looking around to pass, and as you said, the entire team is just looks like they're yelling at her, shoot it, shoot it. Gets it to go there. Beautiful shot. Skipped it in there. Keeper didn't have a chance on that one.
Yeah, Cleveland could have maybe even created a better look for herself had she swim. She had a lot of open water in front of her. Could have swam in a lot. Could have been a lot more ambitiously swam toward it. She hesitated, surveyed, finally took her team's advice, and it paid off. Is able to skip one by the keeper in a shot that was more difficult than it could have. It could have been a lot easier. Nonetheless, works out for her. Michigan goal. Errant pass by Hartwick results in them having to chase the ball beyond the mid-pool point. Caroline Anderson gets a bit too aggressive, called for a defensive foul. Offensive foul immediately after that, though. And another foul. It's going to be Hartwick ball. That's 2 fouls in about 2 seconds of gameplay. Hartwick wisely passes that forward, tries to get beyond the Michigan defense. Laura Jimenez, the senior, smartly chooses to get a hand in the face, cause a defensive foul so her team can regroup. Still 6-on-6 despite all the fouls in the past minute. Great shot by Shelby Sanko. I'm looking at the wrong roster, my apologies. Great shot by Lena Kontshan from Moscow, Russia. Able to get a good look. However, a Michigan Wolverine got her hand in the way, deflected that out of bounds. It will be Michigan ball only if it goes off the keeper. Does the ball stay with the offensive team? Laura Jimenez, errant pass to Christina Obeck. Interesting observation here. One of the reserve keepers for Hartwick is from Ann Arbor, Michigan, actually.
Oh, is that right? That's maybe a recruiting oversight here.
Yeah, it could be. The Wolverines actually have no players from the state of Michigan, interestingly. As Hartwick now moves into the 8-meter zone, had a teammate wide open. But Zofia Polak sails that one wide of the net. She had a moment. She could have more carefully considered her shot rather than just immediately fire and sail it right of the goal. Well, Michigan catches a break there.
Not only did she immediately fire, she just swatted it almost like a volleyball player. It had plenty of space. She could have easily caught that and got off a better shot. Just interesting decision there.
Indeed, I think she was a bit too eager, fired too quickly. Poor shot there. As Obeck tries the same move that worked off earlier, that time she bounces it off the crossbar. It's going to be Hartwick ball.
Yeah, that's tough with your back to the goal, just simply blindly throwing it like that. You're not going to hit the goal every time. I'm surprised she got that close again, honestly.
For sure, she's really trying to make that that no-look shot her own. Hartwick plays the ball on toward the center. It looked like LJ Edwards had time for a moment before Michigan defenders wrestled the ball away. Head coach Dr. Marcelo Leonardi of the Wolverines is going to call timeout here, as Michigan will discuss what they want to do in the remaining 93 seconds in this quarter. Wolverines lead 4-2. So, Nate, what do you think the Wolverines' strategy ought to be here as this quarter draws to a close?
Well, I'm surprised so far here that Maddie Steer really has not got a whole lot of looks at the goal so far. She's tried, cutting in, getting there in front of the net, looking for passes, but they just really haven't been able to get it to her in a good position to score so far. Really, her best opportunity came one time when she was just kind of forgotten about, floating over in the corner. She didn't get a good handle on that pass, resulted in a bad shot. Michigan's rolling here. They're doing pretty well. They don't really have to force it to her, but Maddie Steer is, a dynamite player, a great scorer. I'm surprised, or I'd be surprised if Michigan doesn't look to get her the ball a little bit more often here in the remainder of this game.
Certainly Steer needs to get more involved. She was not too active in the St. Francis game either. It'll be interesting to see if the Wolverines can get her more involved, as they're going to have possession here. Minute 33 to go. They're all in formation near the goal as Heidi Rittner is going to play the ball in from mid-pool. Gets it to Laura Jimenez. Jimenez back to Sellers, back to Jimenez. Maddie O'Reilly now into the game. Gets it back toward Delaney Cleveland. Two teammates try to crash. Kim Johnson does. Her shot is wide left, though. Wolverines lose possession. It's going to be Hartwick ball now. Hartwick plays it down the pool. Crossing mid-pool now as all the swimmers are getting into position. Michigan players bodying up on the attacking players. LJ Edwards just kind of swam over Kim Johnson. In the end, while basically submerging Kim Johnson, she could not get a great shot off, saved pretty handily by Heidi Rittner, who then plays the ball forward, trying to catch Julia Sellers out, who's typically Michigan's sprinter, trying to catch Julia Sellers ahead of the whole Hartwick team. Plays it a bit too long, though, and that is easily corralled by Hartwick's goalie, Emma Aleksandrovich. Meanwhile, Hartwick tries to score quickly, fires that a bit wide, and there is maybe a half-second difference between the shot clock and the game clock. Effectively, the shot clock is off here, and Michigan left to shoot before the quarter ends. Maddie O'Reilly brings it in to the attacking zone. Gets to Julia Sellers, who quickly pops it back out toward Delaney Cleveland. 6-on-5 exclusionary penalty. Wolverines have a short advantage here for a bit. Julia Sellers working in toward the goal. That bounces a bunch of times before ultimately going off the crossbar. 8 seconds to play. I doubt we're going to see any more shots in this quarter. 3, 2, 1. Hartwick won't do anything. Launches up a prayer that isn't near the goal. So that's going to do it for the first half. Wolverines lead 4-2. I have to say that's a good start for the Wolverines. They did score 5 actually in the first quarter alone of the St. Francis game. Hartwick obviously a much tougher opponent. They're 28-9 on the year, boasting the same number of wins as the Wolverines, but just one extra loss. Nate, what do you think the Wolverines, what did you like from the Wolverines, and what do they need to do going forward in order to hold on to this 2-goal lead?
Well, I thought after the first couple of minutes there that the defensive effort was probably going to be a problem here, but it really has. They've picked it up here for sure. Hartwick hasn't had many good looks at the goal here in quite a while, probably that entire second quarter. I don't know if they had a really clean look at the goal. The only opportunity I can think of is when, now I forget her name, just tried to volley it into the goal, and that was probably the best opportunity they ever had. And Heidi Rittner's just doing a great job. She's handling all of their shots quite easily. I I just really love the defensive effort, though. They're really not getting many good looks. Any looks they are getting are slightly wide of the goal, and Michigan's able to corral them, and leads it to some good offensive opportunities for them. I think that's really where Michigan needs to, keep the focus, keep the pressure on, is on the defensive end, not allowing any more clean looks for this Hartwick team.
Definitely some areas that the Wolverines have looked good in or could improve in. I'd have to say they have to be happy with the start. They need to. They really ought to win this one. If they were to drop this game, they would pretty much have to win out in order to make the NCAA tournament. Looking at the standings right now, it's important to note that the winners of each conference get an auto bid to the 10-team NCAA tournament, which will be hosted in the Uitangsu Aquatic Center in Los Angeles, California, that being on USC's campus. Final regular season game of the year, so it certainly is time to look forward toward that. You can be expecting a college water polo bracketology blog on WCBNsports.org in the following days here as the regular season comes to an end. And so make sure to tune in to WCBN Sports. You'll get all the information you need to know about this closing water polo season. But the Wolverines are probably still the favorites to win the CWPA conference. And if that does remain true, then there's no issue there. They're in the tournament either way. However, should they not win, those 3 at-large bids are going to be hotly contested. The Big West Water Polo Conference is really the powerhouse. And that is going to be where most of the at-large teams come from.
Yeah, how many non-California teams should we expect in the tournament this year?
That's a good question. That's going to come down to who ends up winning the conference tournaments. However, it's worth noting water polo might have a bit of a stereotype for being an elitist California sport, and that's not helped by the list of champions in women's water polo. Those three teams who have won are Stanford, UCLA, USC, winning all 17 women's water polo championships. UCLA with 7. Last year, for instance, there was just one. There were 2, I believe. Yeah, just 2 teams made the NCAA water polo tournament that weren't from California last year. One of those being Michigan, along with Wagner, a school in New York, who the Wolverines defeated earlier in the year here at Can-Ham Natatorium. And Michigan, really, they have become the true, by far and away, the best water polo team east of the Rockies, with Arizona State being really the only powerhouse outside of the state of California. I apologize, any of our regular softball listeners. I know that's the name of our softball podcast.
We're not treading on their intellectual property.
No, we would hate to do that. That's Carol Hutchinson's kind of coined that phrase. So it's softballs to use, but I mean, it's pretty undeniably true that is the case in women's water polo. Michigan is the program east of the Rockies. And that basically has occurred because of the work of head coach Dr. Marcelo Leonardi, really turned this program around in his 4th season with the team. He has lost only 4 games in CWPA play since becoming head coach.
Oh, maybe east of the Mississippi. We got to think of something.
True, but that leaves,
Mississippi's too far east.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That leaves basically all of Nebraska, Texas. That's like 2 columns of states.
Maybe east of the Sierra Nevada.
If it weren't for Arizona State, that would be undeniably true. They might have they dropped their game to Arizona State earlier this year, lost 5-3. Arizona State ranks 6th right now, so there's some contention for there. But east of the Rockies could be contended as well. So that might be the right name for Michigan for WCBN's Michigan water polo coverage.
Maybe we should. Yeah, we'll start a east of the Sierra Nevada podcast here.
You heard it here first, folks. Be on the lookout for east of the Sierra Nevada. Michigan wins the opening sprint. Interestingly, Kathy Rogers is the sprinter on that one. She won the sprint to start the first quarter. Julia Sellers lost the sprint for the second quarter. Those are really the only two Wolverines who do sprints, the two fastest swimmers. Michigan trying to make something out of Kathy Rogers' sprint win. Played in toward the center. Julia Sellers now with the ball up top. Finds Kathy Rogers, who scores the goal. Kathy Rogers doing it almost all by herself to start this quarter. Wins the sprint, and she did require two good passes from teammates in order to get that open look. An impressive wide-angle shot that makes the score 5-2, Wolverines lead.
Yeah, I was surprised Julia Sellers didn't shoot that herself there. A few too many hands right there in front of the goal. Opts to pass it over, and then she had a clear path to the goal, just kind of behind all the defenders right out in front.
Yeah, impressive. Really high water polo IQ pass right there. Meanwhile, Kathy Rogers nearly continued to dominate this quarter by getting a hand and stuffing a Hartwick pass. However, that's recovered by Hartwick. And an exclusionary penalty called on Caroline Anderson after a bunch of passing around the perimeter. It's going to be Hartwick's Lauren Brennan, the Aussie with 2 goals in the game, outscoring countrywoman Maddie Steer. So that's going to cut this Michigan lead down to 2 again. 5-3 Wolverines lead. 2 goals in the first 59 seconds of this quarter. Kim Johnson now has the ball, plays it forward to Caroline Anderson, who is kind of chased back toward the boundary of play. Oh, finds a swimming Kim Johnson with a good pass. Forces LJ Edwards to commit a penalty, an exclusionary penalty, I believe. She is swimming off the pool, it looks like. So 6-on-5 advantage thanks to the good Caroline Anderson pass that got ahead of the Hartwick defense and the good swim run by Kim Johnson. Now Michigan just passes around the perimeter. Haven't really posed a threat to shoot yet. Back toward Kathy Rogers, who just scored. Does it to Julia Sellers. She has space, crawls forward. What a shot. Basically between the extended arms of the keeper. Well done right there. There was a small window where she could have thrown that so it would be between the hands of the keeper and still under the crossbar. Placed that perfectly. Michigan's 2 fastest swimmers looking good so far in the beginning of this third quarter, scoring the 2 goals for Kathy Rogers and then Julia Sellers. Yeah,
Beautiful shot and goal there, but really that was all started by the work of Kim Johnson forcing that exclusionary penalty there. Really the defender of Hartwick had no choice but to follow her. She had a clear path at the goal, and you know that's what opened up the pool there for Julia Sellers to get that shot.
So 3 possessions and 3 goals to begin the third quarter. Not much. You can't get much higher quality water polo than that. And it's going to be 4 goals and 4 goals and 4 possessions scored by number 4 for Hartwick, Tori Wilson. We've called her name a couple times already. Also adding to the international flavor here today, I think we have 4 different countries, with the U.S. obviously being represented in goals here. Lauren Brennan has 2 from Australia. Tori Wilson of Kitchener, Ontario, has scored 1, along with Michigan's Kathy Rogers, who is from New Forest, England. And that's going to be the first possession of the half that doesn't result in a goal. Offensive foul committed by the Wolverines. And Hartwick looking to continue their excellent start to the quarter. They can maybe make this a 1-goal game as they get beyond the defense, and they do. They're 3 for 3 on possessions. Michigan is going to have to slow down this Hartwick offense, as I believe that was Becca Lellis out of Boulder City, Nevada, who scores Hartwick's 3rd goal of the quarter, with 5 minutes and 36 still to play here. 6-5, Michigan's lead, which was as much as 3 at 2 different times this half, is now down to 1 goal very quickly.
Yeah, and Michigan bringing in subs now. They've got to do something to switch it up here.
Sellers has the ball as Steer cuts in toward the goal, ends up parking right in front of Jofia Pollock. No open players, so Sellers tries to launch a pretty far-out shot. Ricochets off the side post. Hartwick now plays it forward. Kathy Rogers between the goal and the ball, between the attacker and the ball. Offensive foul committed. Great defensive effort by Kathy Rogers. It's going to stay Michigan ball as Heidi Rittner plays it forward toward Caroline Anderson. Anderson finds Sellers with room. Sellers decides to pass it to Johnson. I really thought Sellers should have shot there. Instead, Johnson is given the ball, and a quick adjustment by now a different keeper. Josette Santos is in for Hartwick from Huntington Beach, California. Interesting change there. In transition, Hartwick plays it forward, almost gets by Maddie Steer. However, Steer forces some pressure on Hartwick and ends up helping the ball roll toward Heidi Rittner. Not sure why they made the substitution, but Josette Santos is in now for Hartwick. Not sure why they pulled their earlier keeper. Caroline Anderson now with the ball. Back towards Sellers. Sellers gets this one by. He's taken a few ambitious shots this half. That one was from about 10 meters out. Pays off, though, as that one goes in and expands Michigan's lead to 2 goals.
Yeah, for Hartwick, the change in keeper is really interesting, especially because I do not believe the deficit in the first half had anything really to do with their defense. It was just that their offense was not producing enough, and now Michigan's really taking advantage of this other keeper. Surprised that they're not going to switch back here.
Indeed, yeah. I really saw no issues with Emma Alexandrovich's play, and she allowed 4 goals in a quarter. Right now, 3 goals in half a quarter have been allowed by Hartwick. Hartwick's Josette Santos. So we'll see maybe how this keeper situation evolves throughout the game. Anderson plays it forward to Obeck. Obeck with over a defender, gets her 3rd goal of the day. The senior on senior day really showing up. Lobs one over the keeper. That was quite hard to defend. But now Hartwick has given up 4 goals in only 4.5 minutes this half. Wolverines reclaim their largest lead of the day, 8-5, 3-goal lead.
Yeah, just beautiful shot there. The touch shot, just lobbing it over the outstretched hands of the keeper. Just beautifully done.
Well put. That was Christina Obeck has put on a shooting clinic. All 3 of her goals were hard-earned. The senior really showing up on senior night. And that was really a good play by Kathy Rogers, but I think the real 2 players who made that were Kim Johnson and Christina Obeck. They forced Hartwick to retreat, resulting in an errant pass that was easily intercepted by Kathy Rogers. Great team defense right there, blinding Hartwick and forcing them to make a costly error. Offensive foul. It's going to be Hartwick ball. 2:46 to go in the second quarter. Hartwick is able to get behind the defense a bit, but Maddie Steer is a fast swimmer and cuts off Zofia Polak. Polak plays the ball a bit too wide for her teammate. However, I believe a defensive foul has been called. That might have occurred in the 2-meter zone with open water, so this could be a free throw coming up. Yeah, it's going to be basically a penalty shot by Zofia Polak out of Duna Uivaros, Hungary. Here, you can't get any really much easier of a look right here. Uivaros plays that well. Low, takes a skip right under the keeper's arms. That's a very fundamental way to take a free shot. That's going to cut Michigan's lead down 8-6 now.
Yeah, and that a costly error there by Michigan. Really not getting the penalty, but just letting Hartwick get back behind the defense. Really had no choice but to foul, leading to that shot.
Meanwhile, Anderson plays a great pass to Maddie Steer. That was going to be potentially an amazing race, but they ruled it a goal before that. Steer was triple teamed, much like Anderson's pass to Johnson that resulted in a Kathy Rogers goal earlier in the quarter, rather. I guess both are true. Anderson saw Steer swimming forward, plays it right in front of Steer, who fights for the ball through triple coverage, launches one over Santos's head, and the ball is parked right on the line between the goal and the pool of play, and the ball was very, very slowly arching forward. Might be akin to Tiger Woods' 2005 golf chip shot, if you remember that from the Masters. Mm-hmm. I think we all did. That ball was parked right on the border of a goal and not a goal. And Santos, the keeper, and Christina Obeck, the Wolverine center, were both sprinting forward as fast as they could. And maybe the way they were pushing the water around, that might have been all it took to push the ball farther enough across the invisible line that makes a difference between goal and not a goal. And the referee blew that off, saying that Maddie Steer's goal was good. So Michigan's arguable best player, Maddie Steer, gets on the board. Both Aussies in this game now for opposite teams have a goal that's 3 goals coming out of Australia in this 9-6 game. And there's been a stoppage in play. Do not worry, though. That's not going to be this play isn't going to be overturned. There is no instant replay in water polo at any level, which you could argue is problematic, given that there's no really lines actually in the water.
Yeah, what are you going to review then for?
Yeah, and that's a fair point as well. Hartwick right now entering the pool in the train formation that we saw Michigan football pull off a season ago, as they now all break once the ball is put in play. I really think that play might have been inspired by Jim Harbaugh right there.
It could have been. You don't see that often in sports, just players lined up like that. As an odd-looking formation for sure.
Hartwick is forced to play a very wide pass as Michigan pushes the ball in toward the corner. It was near perfect, and if not for some good defense by Kathy Rogers, or Caroline Anderson rather, the 6 and 8 are a bit similar looking on the Caps, my apologies, that would have been a goal. The ball was forced out of bounds off Michigan's keeper Heidi Rittner, so the ball stayed with Hartwick. Nonetheless, an errant pass to resume play is going to result in Michigan ball. They look to take their largest lead of the night as they presently lead 9-6. Laura Jimenez plays it up toward Brittany Prentice. Prentice's pass to Steer is intercepted, but only because Steer was held back by her countrywoman, Lauren Brennan. And I believe a timeout's been called by head coach Dr. Marcelo Leonardi. A minute 39 to go. Wolverines will drop a play here to try to get a 4-goal lead. Should the Wolverines take a 4-goal lead going into the fourth quarter, they can feel very comfortable about their odds of going 7-1 in CWPA play and giving Princeton a run for their money and making sure Princeton has to work in order to making sure Princeton can't rest if they want to win the CWPA regular season championship.
Yeah, and it looks like coming out of this timeout, Hartwick will be down a player. I believe that was an exclusionary penalty there on the hold on Maddie Steer. So Michigan will be very well poised to add to this lead. And especially as well as the offense has looked here, they really are firing on all cylinders. Now with the Hartwick defense being down 1, I can't imagine Michigan being able to plan out the offensive attack right here out of this timeout. I would think this is about as surefire as a scoring opportunity as any.
And that's a good catch, Nate. I failed to see Hartwick's Lauren Brennan in the exclusionary zone, a bit of like the penalty box in ice hockey. So for that foul on Maddie Steer, Brennan will wait in the exclusionary foul. Both that's 2 Australians. I'm sure they've played together as well. So now Michigan begins their 6-on-5 advantage. Passing around the perimeter. Pass across the pool toward Julia Sellers. She hesitates. Finds Delaney Cleveland. And that she fires that one wide left. Not the best look in the world for a 6-on-5 advantage. 1:20 to go in the quarter.
I think I jinxed it.
You may have, indeed. So 9-6 lead remains. Ball played a bit too far forward, and Heidi Rittner's going to take that one. Although Hartwick's Lena Kotinchan is not going to give up on that. Continues to harass Rittner, who finds Kathy Rogers. Rogers is playing very deep here defensively. Not really it looks like and it does appear that Kotinchan is just going to cherry pick. That's interesting. Meanwhile, players actually involved in the game. Steer cuts forward, receives the ball, but passes over the head of Kim Johnson. Johnson not able to score. The ball quickly played up toward Kotinchan, who has an errant pass that's corralled by Heidi Rittner. Michigan ball. Interesting strategy there that Hartwick used. They just left the defender back to cherry pick. They're not going to do that anymore as Kotinchan now is playing defensively.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would think then with both teams just leaving a player back, that's just less bodies out in front of the goal would be an advantage for the offensive team.
Yeah, that's why you don't see that very often. So that was a bit startling. I'm not really sure what the plan was there. Anyway, Michigan fires over the crossbar, and that's going to do it for the third quarter that I think the Wolverines can be very happy with as they expand their lead to 3. Wolverines lead 9-6. I'm very curious to see if Hartwick is going to revert back to having Emma Alexandrovich back in goal after experimenting with Josette Santos in the second half. Meanwhile, at 7:30, half an hour after this game began, Princeton resumed their play. They're playing Brown right now. If we can get any score updates on that, we will let you know because that's an important game for the Wolverines. Right now, T-shirts are being tossed to Cannon Auditorium for senior night. Got a good crowd, I'd say over 100 in attendance here right now, including the Michigan Stormtrooper.
Of course, a staple.
Doesn't really seem to be in contention for the T-shirts right now. Not really sure if they make T-shirts for Stormtroopers. I don't know how the chest plate and everything that Stormtroopers have would get in the way.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if he can afford to add any more accessories to his getup. He's currently wearing a flag like a cape. He has a pom-pom. I think he's got about as much Michigan swag as any human could reasonably wear at any point.
For sure, not to mention he is the only Stormtrooper I know of with a winged helmet.
You'd think they would, try to incorporate that. It's a good look.
Yeah, I mean,
someone get J.J. Abrams on the phone.
That could be maybe Finn's next disguise in episode 9. A Wolverine Stormtrooper.
Yeah, I don't know why a Stormtrooper? Why a Wolverine Stormtrooper? Does anyone know the origin?
I mean, at least it's a very well-known look. I feel like really anyone in the how many Americans could identify that and say, "Oh, it's a Stormtrooper"? I think it's 99%.
That's true. That's a good point. Recognizability is probably the best thing you can hope for with any costume.
And to me, the most impressive fact is that the Wolverine Stormtrooper shows up to, I believe it's one Michigan game every 3 days, something like that. They had him out for Star Wars night for basketball. It's really remarkable. I don't know what he does during the rest of the week, but he travels to attend Michigan athletics. He goes to really all the games. I think it's a he. I don't really know. Maybe I shouldn't be so quick to say that. We, of course, know could be Captain Phasma from the new series of Star Trek. Star Trek. Oh no, what have I done? That might have to end the broadcast right now.
Yeah.
That's pretty condemning right there. Star Wars. I promise I know the difference. I've seen all the movies. Might retroactively edit this video on YouTube once this broadcast is over.
Yeah, you have the mic mute button right there. You could have.
I should have done it. Should have shown the restraint. The opening sprint is about to start. There's a senior day sign, so I can't quite see who the Wolverine sprinter is. Nate, can you tell if that's Rogers or Sellers?
I have no view.
I think it's Rogers. Yeah, it's number 8, so that should be Rogers.
It is.
Looks like it'll be a close one, and Rogers is going to win that by a fingernail. So it appears Rogers goes 3-0 for sprints. Julia Sellers goes 0 for 1. So Rogers continues as the freshman to come in here and overtake that sprinting role from the junior. Christina O'Beck has some open water to work with. Spins around right into the hands of Santos. It looks like the senior keeper for the Hartwick Hawks is going to play the rest of this game, despite the fact she didn't start and has allowed more goals than her teammate in less time played. But
I was surprised to see O'Beck turn around to attempt that shot. I would have thought she had a good opportunity for a third behind-the-back shot of the night.
True, yeah, it's become O'Beck's trademark now, just to not even bother looking. Anderson now, after an empty Hartwick possession, brings the ball into the Michigan side, approaching the 8-meter line. Anderson plays it far back toward Kim Johnson. 19 seconds to go. Michigan moving in the wrong direction as they go back to Sellers. Sellers back to Johnson. Johnson elevating as high out of the water as she can. Pump fakes a few times before firing right into the chest of Josette Santos. Going to stay Michigan ball, or Hartwick ball. Kathy Rogers tips the ball again. This time she recovers it. If she can get around the defender, she might have some open water. She's not going to be able to, though. Plays the ball long and wide to Kim Johnson now. Basically flipping the side of the pool, not moving too much forward, though. Julia Sellers has gotten open, trying to command the ball. The ball does get in towards Sellers. Sellers commits a foul, and it's going to be Hartwick ball.
Hartwick really needs some goals here. They're not out of this one yet.
Far from out of it, and that's exactly what they needed. Not a whole lot of movement on offense there, but it was their sprinter Lena Katinchan from Moscow who just kind of parked at the perimeter of Michigan's defense, waited, saw no one was going to challenge her, and fired one off the inside of the post. Ricochets in, 9-7, cuts Michigan's lead to 2. This game is far from over.
And there again, I apologize. I think I willed that goal into existence.
Nate not helping the Wolverines too much on senior night.
Yeah.
Whistle blown. It's not going to be exclusionary, though. And it actually will be. It's going to be Zofia Polak who is going to the exclusionary zone, sitting it out while the Wolverines have a 6-5 swimmer advantage. They pass it around the perimeter. Anderson back toward Rogers. Rogers up toward Obeck. Obeck holds on to it. Flips pool back toward Kim Johnson. She had a window to shoot, but not anymore. Johnson swimming backward. And Polak has entered the pool. The 6-on-5 advantage has been wasted by the Wolverines, who still have possession. 6 to shoot. 5, 4. Sellers facing the wrong way. Is given some space. 3 to shoot. Hand in the way. And an exclusionary penalty has been called. Wolverines with a full shot clock and a 6-5 advantage. Zofia Polak once again called for it twice in the same possession. That is just killer for Hartwick. They had a fantastic defensive possession, gave the Wolverines no shots that were not blocked during an exclusionary penalty and a full 35-second shot clock, and they all just in the final 2 seconds to commit a foul and give the Wolverines another woman advantage.
Yeah, and again, by saying especially now that the lead is only 2 for Michigan, Hartwick is definitely not out of this game, but they cannot afford many mistakes, especially one like that. That is just a massive error. You know, especially after defending so well for the entire shot clock, you can't just give your opponent a fresh 35 seconds and the advantage there on the exclusionary penalty. That is just a critical error here. And now, again, Michigan needs to take advantage of this opportunity, though. Right now, a 2-goal lead is not it's a little close for comfort, in my opinion. And, you know, again, Michigan's been playing well this entire game, but only a 2-goal lead. Hartwick is knocking right on the door. They really could use a goal here to make this lead more comfortable.
You're absolutely correct. The Wolverines really cannot breathe easily until this is a 3-goal lead with under 2 minutes to play. Only up 2. They're going to really want to convert this exclusionary penalty. There's an error on the scoreboard right now as it says the Wolverines have a 130-minute advantage, 1-woman advantage. That is certainly not the case, as they played around the perimeter. And another empty possession by the Wolverines. They're 0 for 3 now with exclusionary fouls. Kim Johnson lets the ball get stripped out of her hands before that possession really got going. It's going to be Hartwick ball now as they slowly bring this up the pool. They might have to play with a bit more urgency. As right now, Charlotte Collette from Sydney, Australia has the ball. Plays it deep back toward Tori Wilson out of Ontario. Back toward Lena Kotnyachin. Kotnyachin passes wide. Back to Wilson. Back wide toward Katie McKenty from Auckland, New Zealand. Whistle called against Maddie Steer. They play back toward Tori Wilson. To Kotnyacek, who elevates out of the water, doesn't pass. Finally gets to Tori Wilson, who puts into the side netting. 1 goal lead for Michigan. Things have gotten a lot tighter here on senior night for the Wolverines. They're yet to score halfway through this first quarter. They've conceded 2, though, as it looks like Delaney Cleveland comes out in place for Christina Obeck, who has scored 3 goals already today.
Yeah, and that was just beautiful ball movement there by Hartwick. They're just passing it around, just really cut through that Michigan defense surgically there with all that passing.
And that's a killer mistake. Wolverines commit an offensive foul before that possession really ever got going. And now Kotnyacek is sprinting down the left wing. Has to hesitate, pulls up and fires. That might have been an ill-advised shot. And nevertheless, it was a pretty quick one. Not an easy save for Heidi Rittner, and gets a roar from the crowd as things have really gotten close with 3:39 to play. Kim Johnson, errant pass right to Zofia Polak. That's 2 back-to-back, really 3, you could argue. Just atrocious possessions for the Wolverines. Had 70 seconds of shot clock, 40 seconds of one-woman advantage. Couldn't do anything 3 possessions ago. Immediate foul on the second to last, and a complete giveaway on the most recent. Wolverines here have to be nervous. 3 to play in the quarter. Maddie Steer, hand in the face of Tori Wilson. It gets played in toward the center. Heidi Rittner comes out of the goal to try to defend that one. That was a risk, but it paid off. Heidi Rittner gets the steal. That's a stat keepers typically don't record. She leaves her goal quite ambitiously, and it pays off. 2:50 to play. Caroline Anderson with the ball. Defensive foul called. Anderson is awarded some space. Julia Sellers now with the ball at midpool. Kathy Rogers plays into Maddie Steer, who's hand fighting for the ball right now. Steer has some space, gets it ahead to Obeck. If Obeck can get to it, she's got it! What a fantastic goal by Obeck! That was the equivalent to Michael Jordan as he switched hands for the dunk, or layup rather. That iconic play, that's what that reminded me of. Obeck fighting off 2 defenders behind her with one hand, reaches out to get the ball before Josette Santos could get there. Flicks the ball up with the hand that she got the ball with. Used the hand she was fighting off defenders with to just smash the ball, not unlike a volleyball player, slamming the ball at the net, and that ball just rolls in. Beck has really had 2 just unbelievably creative goals today.
I cannot believe what I just witnessed there. That kind of trickery there, smacking the ball up, kind of volleyball serving that, as you said, would be impressive enough, but she had 2 defenders hanging off of her. Oh my goodness.
I've seen people attempt those no-look shots. I've seen a few go in before in water polo that Obeck had earlier, but I've never seen it play just like that. Man, I hope there's some video of that online, because that was a real impressive one. Hartwick, meanwhile, we were a bit caught up there by Obeck's goal that we just completely ignored a Hartwick possession. Yeah. It was fun. It was an okay possession, but you didn't miss that too much by the fact we didn't tell you about it. Nothing, no really great looks by there. They passed it around until they kind of ran out of time. Michigan in transition played up toward Julia Sellers, who fired quickly over the crossbar. It will be Hartwick possession here with 2:08 to go. The Wolverines are approaching that magic pattern that you typically want. 3 goals under 2 minutes, and that's typically when you know the game is just about over. 2:08 to play. Wolverines up 2. Hartwick possession here. It's going to be a nail-biter down the stretch.
Oh, I still am just in shock from seeing that goal. That was one of the most amazing things I have ever seen. I'm not a big water polo guy, certainly not as much as you, but I cannot imagine. Have you ever seen better water polo goal than that in person?
I've in person certainly not. in ever, just like through the Olympics or World Championships, European Championships. I might have seen more. I might have seen some more impressive goals, maybe no-look spins for even further out than Obek's first, or just some truly athletic shots. But I mean, I don't think I've ever seen as creative of a shot there. I mean, that was not so much water polo skill or athleticism as just pure creativity on the spot. I don't know how she thought of that. Really impressive right there.
Yeah, the only thing I can think is maybe like a good comparison, again, going back to basketball, is when a player without their dribble lobs it to themselves off that backboard for an alley-oop. Saw LeBron James do that in the NBA Finals last year. Sort of that kind of play. She just really had no other opportunity but to do that. It just can't believe she thought to do it, really.
Yeah, it was really not unlike a self-assist, passing the ball to yourself. Hartwick is now moving the ball in along the left wing. Michigan commits a defensive foul. Not exclusionary, though. It will still be full strength. 15 seconds to go for Hartwick. They've been kind of stuck on the left end for this possession as they try to work it toward the center. And an offensive foul is committed. That was a big missed chance there for Hartwick. A Wolverine goal would basically put this away. And there's 30 seconds on the shot clock, and the ball is still in Heidel's hands as she just now passes. I would not be surprised if Michigan uses all 35 seconds. Caroline Anderson, though, has a chance to swim, get into the 2-meter zone by herself. She does. She can shoot here. Is getting wrestled by the defender. That had to be called. I was surprised that the referee hesitated at all to blow that whistle. Ball pass to Julia Sellers, 10 to play. Don't expect the Wolverines to shoot with more than 3 on the clock. Ball now in Rogers' hands, 7 to go. 6, 5. Sellers has it, 4, 3. Swing backward. Just going to play this one into the corner if she can. Instead, the ball's knocked out of her hands before that can happen. 1 minute, 4 seconds to go. And Hartwick head coach Alan Huckins calls timeout. Hartwick could still win the CWPA regular season championship. So they've got a lot to play for here. Actually, upon further review, Princeton has the head-to-head tiebreaker and also has 5 wins. No, yeah, Hartwick could still win. With a win here, Hartwick could still win the CWPA. It'd be unlikely, but very much in it. So this is a big minute, the biggest minute of the season for Hartwick right now. They have to score both possessions. They failed to on the first try. And really, I think they kind of panicked. They were shot too quickly. They should have tried to move the ball around. All they did was pass it to the point of their offense, and they let Lena Katianchan out of Moscow. I'm sure I'm butchering that, but she just kind of hesitated with the ball and fired right into Heidi Rittner's chest. Michigan with no urgency here, just burning all the clock they can. Call timeout, 29 seconds to go, 11 seconds on the shot clock, and we're having a senior substitution, Laura Jimenez, who got a lot of good minutes in the earlier game. Typically plays quite a bit for this team, but for matchup purposes has not been super involved in this one. She comes into the pool replacing freshman Kathy Rogers, as this game is nearly over, but the Wolverines can't rest quite yet. I've seen it before where you can score 2 goals in 20 seconds and force overtime. Unlikely, though, right now. 3 seconds to play. Steer wisely lobs it into the corner. Once they touch the ball and play resumes, Hartwick will have 17 seconds to score 2 goals if they want to remain in contention for a CWPA regular season championship. Ball at mid-pool, 10 to go. 9, 8. Great defense by Maddie Steer. The ball, no chance for a shot. Oh, they fire into the corner of the net. 3 seconds to go. It's really unlikely, but there is a chance right now. All the Wolverines have to do is pass it back toward Heidi Rittner. Don't score an own goal, and you're going to win this game. But Hartwick made it interesting. Caroline Anderson, though the senior, is going to hold on to it, toss the ball up into the air to herself as the Wolverines win a great one to conclude their regular season. That was really a great end-to-end water polo game as the home fans cheer on senior night, hail to the victors play, as the Wolverines have put forward their best foot forward in their bid to win the CWPA regular season championship. They have locked up, at worst, the 2 seed in the CWPA tournament. Win that, and they will be an auto bid. Lose that. If they lose to Princeton, I really do believe they will make it as an at-large bid. You can read more about it, though, in an upcoming college water polo bracketology post. I'll be coming to WCBNsports.org shortly. Princeton right now playing Brown. I have no info on the score on that one right now, but that'll be interesting for the Wolverines. I got to hope that Princeton drops 2 of their last 3 if they want to be the outright conference champions. Nonetheless, whatever Princeton does doesn't take away from the season the Wolverines have had. They're going to finish top 10 at the end of the regular season. Good win over 16th ranked Hartwick. Final score is 10-9 Wolverines. Nate, what are your concluding thoughts on the regular season here as WCBN concludes its coverage of the 2018 Michigan water polo season?
Well, really, I just can't imagine a better way to send off the seniors here on senior night than this game. Absolute nail-biter there. And, you know, all the seniors contributing pretty well there, especially Christina Obeck just absolutely put on a show with her shooting. Just a fantastic game, fantastic performance. Can't wait to see what this team can do here in the postseason.
Indeed. So now Wolverines have to wait for 13 days. They're on to Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, where the host site of the CWPA Championship. That they will start play on Friday, the 27th of April. The 8-9 game will be the day before, but outside of that, the Wolverines will play next on Friday, April 27th. That's in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. WCBN does not anticipate covering that one at the moment, but you should check in with this program. There's certainly a threat. They've gone further than any non-California team has in the tournament in quite some time with their 2016 run, where they lost in the third-place game to UCLA. Really a great program to watch. Inspiring performance by senior Christina Obeck in her last official game in Canon Natatorium. That is a great way to end WCBN's coverage of Michigan Water Polo 2018. We thank you all for listening and for listening to WCBN. I'm sure we've got plenty of baseball, softball coverage to come later in this week. And that will do it for us. We wish you, as always, a good day and a Go Blue. I'm Daniel Thompson on behalf of Nate Sorensen and all of WCBN. We wish you a good night and a Go Blue.